Hello there everyone, welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome back if you aren't, I'm EDJ. So last time we saw part 1 of Genghis Khan's, early life, his upbringing and whatnot from, extra history. So now we're going to be looking at part 2, because last time we left off, it was on the cliffhanger that the tribe that, Temujin's mother was abducted is now looking for revenge, so yeah, I guess they're gonna come and everything is just gonna fall apart because, Temujin, soon to be Genghis Khan, was seemingly content with living a peaceful life until, I suppose, tragedy's about to strike and he's gonna go on to become, who we know him as, nowadays. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. And, yeah, I don't really have much else to say other than we should probably get right into it. Link to this video in the description. With that said, without any further ado, let's watch Genghis Khan, the Rivalry of Blood Brothers.
It's a quiet morning just before dawn. In Temujin's camp, the family sleeps peacefully, thinking their troubles are behind them. They are very wrong. Even now, 300 Merkit soldiers thunder towards them on horseback, eager for a fight. News traveled fast on the ancient steppe, and the story of Temujin's daring escape and new alliance with Ong Khan spread far and wide. His growing success got the attention of the Merkits, the tribe Temujin's father had kidnapped his mother from. They saw an opportunity to knock Temujin down a peg before he got too powerful. At Temujin's camp, an old woman was sleeping with her head on the ground, and suddenly she was awoken by the sound of approaching hooves. She alerted the camp. With little time to prepare for the attack, Temujin, his allies, his mother, and 5-year-old child all mounted horses and took flight. But Borte was left behind. Nobody is sure if she volunteered to stay behind, as her grandmother had, or if Temujin lost track of her in the confusion, or if he left her behind in a calculated move to give them all time to escape. But in the end, it was effective. When the Merkits found Borte, they halted their pursuit and took her captive. Temujin, for his part, fled to the mountains, lying low and following the elk trails he had known since childhood. 4 days later, he emerged, and seeing that the coast was clear, was overcome with gratitude for having survived. He vowed to always honor the mountains as the place of his deliverance. Temujin saw his survival as a sign that he was special in the eyes of the spirits, truly destined for greatness. But Temujin was devastated at having lost his wife. He had 3 options. He could return to his old camp and his pastoral life, but no matter how much he might build up and acquire for himself, there would always be the constant risk that some other enemy might come along and he would lose it all in another raid. He could head north toward the wooded, isolated lands of his childhood, but those desolate lands lacked pasture for animals. Living there would require his family to scrape by as he had in childhood, fishing and trapping and catching birds. It would be a safe life, but neither prosperous nor honorable. The third option was to follow the river south to seek the help of his patron Ong Khan. Though Temujin had declined the offer to take a position under Ong Khan's authority a year ago, now that his newly built life was shattered, it seemed the only way to recover his bride. Ong Khan was enraged that the Merkits had acted against someone under his protection, and offered Temujin 20,000 warriors to retaliate against them. He also
Holy crap. Yo, I spit. But man, they came with 300? He's like, here, have 20,000. Oh my goodness.
suggested that they enlist the help of his childhood friend and blood brother, Jamuka, who had become Khan of his own tribe by this time. Jamuka had experienced his own adversities, having been captured by the Merkits and forced into slavery just as Temujin had. But he too had escaped. He had built his own following and was now head of his own clan. He was eager for a chance to take revenge on the Merkits, and to help his blood brother, providing another 2 cavalry divisions to Temujin's force. They sent messengers back and forth across the steppe, arranging where and when to meet. Jamuka arrived at the appointed time and place, but Temujin and Ong Khan's forces took their time, meeting up along the way before proceeding to the rendezvous. When they finally arrived, Jamuka was livid. He had 6,000 men under his command, each with 2 or 3 spare horses. The army's 15,000-odd horses alone were grazing 5,000 acres of grass per day, to say nothing of the horses of the families already living in the valley. All of his soldiers were geared up for battle, sleeping in the rough, and eating through their limited food supplies, and increasingly anxious to get back to their families. And moreover, such an enormous force of men and horses were not exactly inconspicuous. Any wandering merchant might have seen what was going down and galloped off to warn the others. Jamuka scolded Ong Khan and Temujin, who were like, yeah, fair enough, our bad. The combined armies...
Okay. Well, yeah, Jemica, I think that's how he's pronouncing it. Apologies, like I said, I'm already, like, taking a risk trying to pronounce any of these names. But, as you know, I'm not good at pronouncing anything, if you've been watching my videos for any amount of time. But, yeah, fair enough, right? Like, there's so much, like, he was there on time, he was ready, and, you know, everyone else was diddle-dallying. It seems like Khan is a title. Like, yeah, he's his own Khan. I suppose Khan seems like the head of, like, something. I'm not gonna assume too much, but it does seem like to be a high title, you know?
Made their way north to the Merkit camp, but this was the beginning of a rift between Temujin and Jamuka that would only continue to grow. The Merkits lay in wait across a river. Each soldier built a float of reeds and swam across with a horse. The operation was too large to be a total surprise, but as soon as the Merkits realized what was happening, they panicked and scattered. Temujin frantically searched the camp for his wife, calling out her name. Now, Borte didn't realize that it was Temujin himself coming to rescue her. Any number of raiders or rivals might have been attacking, and she was not up for being captured again, so she was fleeing with the rest of the war prisoners. But when she heard Temujin's voice over the fray, she recognized it, and sprinted through the battle towards him. As she ran to his horse and snatched the reins from his hands, he almost attacked her, thinking she was an enemy. But as soon as he recognized her, he called off the attack, dismounted in the middle of battle, and embraced her. It was a resounding victory. The Merkits were scattered, both Temujin and Jamuka had their revenge, and Temujin was quickly establishing himself among the Mongols as a leader. But their joy was short-lived. It was discovered that Borte had been raped by her captors, and come back pregnant. 9 months after she had been rescued, she gave birth to a son. Temujin claimed that the boy was his, but because his paternity was never clearly established, the child would never be fully accepted as Temujin's heir. With the Merkits dealt with, Temujin and Jamuka's families combined their camps and lived together. At least for a time, the two men were inseparable, riding, hunting, eating, even camping together. They swore their friendship for the 3rd time, now as adults, in a public ceremony with their combined followers as witnesses.
These two got a real great bromance going on, like, how many times can you swear blood brother oaths in your life? But, yeah, they got quite the bromance, and I have a feeling, yeah, things are gonna go bad. Like, really bad, unfortunately, because all the foreshadowing I'm noticing. But, yeah.
Before a tree at the edge of a cliff, they exchanged golden sashes, key symbols of a Mongol man's identity, as well as horses that they had looted from the Merkits. And because of his blood brotherhood with Jamuka, Temujin enjoyed an elevated status within the tribe. For a year and a half, things seemed ideal. But time has a way of changing things. Both Temujin and Jamuka were powerful men with aspirations to unite and lead the Mongol tribes. Jamuka supported traditional Mongolian aristocracy, where Temujin believed in a meritocratic method, and as such attracted a broader range and lower class of followers. Jamuka came from a higher lineage than Temujin, and over time began to treat him less as an equal and more as a younger brother or...
Oh, okay, I see what's going on. Okay, this different class system, you know, one Temujin who came from, I guess, more humble beginnings and rose. Yeah, it makes sense that he would want, right, to allow other people the same opportunity. and I agree with that more, right? Like, you can start from from the bottom and raise to the top, instead of the more fixed aristocracy, which Jemica seems more in favor of. It's like, yeah. But I do see how, like, Temujin could assemble a much bigger following, because his cause seems to be more welcoming, and there seems more potential, right? Like, if you're, like I said, from a more lowly place in life, you're like, hey, I could maybe rise too. Like, I'm gonna join this dude.
Or a subordinate. Temujin had killed the last brother figure in his life who had demanded subservience, so, as you can imagine, this did not sit well, and they began to drift apart. One day, as the two men were riding together, Jamuka suggested that they split up their camps, that Temujin should take the goats and the sheep and camp by the river, while Jamuka took the horses and camped closer to the mountains. This was a power move. Horses were the wealth of the steppe. Horse breeders, such as those Jamuka had...
Yeah, I was thinking, it seems like in the steppes, horses have a real high place, right? In war and, just everything. I wonder if there's, like, a significance. It seems important to the overall, I guess, culture. So, at least, yeah, I can already... Like I said, I'm very ignorant, of all this, but I get, from what I've seen from these, last video and this one, yeah, horses are, where it's at. And him saying, I'll take the horses, you can just have the sheep, seems like an insult on its own, right? Yeah, this is interesting.
Descended from were a noble class. Horses played such an essential role in battle and steppe life that they were a status symbol. The message behind Jamuka's statement was clear. He was asserting his authority as a horse breeder, and treating Temujin as a lowly shepherd. Temujin was perplexed, and returned to his family, relaying the order and asking his mother what she made of it. Borte overheard this and interrupted. She was angry at this betrayal, and didn't trust Jamuka any longer. She insisted...
Yeah, Jamuka seems like he's kind of being a jerk. Huh? He's just like, he seems to be the one propelling... I thought it was gonna be, Temujin who was gonna be escalating things, but yeah, it seems like Jamuka... Yeah, seems to be the one really causing the rift to widen,
that they break from the group and set out on their own, along with any of Jamuka's followers who wanted to join them. They fled that very evening, riding through the night to gain as much distance as possible in case anyone decided to pursue. The following dawn, something strange happened. 3 brothers and their families, leading members of minor clans under Jamuka, caught up with them. Then more families from other clans caught up as well. In the end, many of Jamuka's followers chose to join Temujin. Now, they weren't the greatest of families. Jamuka still had the loyalty of the established leaders, but Temujin offered something that Jamuka could not. The prospect of advancement.
Yes. For, like, obviously, right, the potential to rise, it's like, who wouldn't want that? Other than the higher-ups who are already there, makes sense they would stick with the order just to remain there and not be threatened in their stations. But, yeah, here he's offering something so much greater for the majority of those of more lowly status. So, yeah.
At the age of 19, Temujin had taken his first great step.
Dang, he is barely 19. He is young. He went through a lot. And there's still so much more to cover, right? Oh my goodness. What already a very interesting life full of ups and downs.
The road to leadership and power. The rift between Temujin and Jamuka would grow into 2 decades of warfare, as each young man rose in stature as leading Mongol warriors, accrued followers, and built up their bases of power. They would grow from sworn brothers to the bitterest of rivals, splitting the Mongols into a vicious civil war full of raids and killings. Their rift was not just personal, but also ideological. As the rightful heir to his position as Khan, and coming from a noble lineage, Jamuka was fighting to maintain tradition and aristocracy. Temujin was a radical who cared more about the quality of his followers' character than their heredity.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of on Temujin's side. I agree more with the idea that people should rise based on character and merit, not because they were born into, like, or inherited just, um, higher position. So yeah, this battle of ideology, I'm kind of on Temujin's side here, in terms of this battle, yeah.
Following was a motley band of mixed class and origin. He had fought his way up from nothing, going from a ragged child hunting rats in the woods to a respected military leader. His following lacked the legitimacy of Jamaica's noble background, but it was very appealing for those who wanted to find freedom and build a better life for themselves. The fight for the future of the steppe tribes had begun.
Another super interesting video. I'm really liking learning about the culture of the steppes, the circumstances. I guess you can call it the politics or the social order of how things are being run with their own kind of hierarchy and whatnot. So like I said, it's very interesting for someone very ignorant of this culture and of this era, because, mainly we've only covered, like, does this count as European? I'm not sure, but we've mainly only covered, like, main Europe, the Rome, and, a lot of Napoleon, a lot of France, but, so it's nice to just kind of, I guess, cover other parts of the world, because the world is so big, and there's so much cultures and history to cover, and, yeah, I'm binging all of these videos. Obviously, they're coming out once a week for is it Mondays that I'm uploading right now? Yes, so, for Mondays, but, and they'll be coming out once a week, but I'm watching these all in one go, because I think they're very interesting. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.